Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. Today, I am chatting with Dawn Jarvis, and I'm really excited for this episode. She's a really awesome educator in the space. So, Dawn, say hi to everyone, tell everyone who you are and kind of what you do.
Hey everybody, I'm Dawn. Like she said, my business is Dawn Photo. I am a elopement and portrait photographer in Oregon. I also do, yes, a lot of education for the photography, like creative community, which I love, and it's so fun.
hmm
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Well, I would love to hear kind of like your story, like how you got started in photography. So kind of take me back to when it all
Oh
started
boy.
and yeah, just walk me through it. I think it's always interesting hearing like how everyone starts.
Oh gosh. I mean, it goes back pretty far. So I literally never thought I was gonna be a photographer. Like that was not something. I thought I was gonna be a dentist. And then I went to college and I decided I hated that. And then I actually have a degree to help people with special needs using horses. So very
Wow.
different.
Yeah.
Um, but I did photography like all of high school and I was a yearbook editor for photography and all of that. So like it was always like a part of like my like hobby, I guess. And I was like taking senior photos for friends and like that kind of stuff. But when I got to college, I joined a sorority and everyone wanted pictures.
Yeah.
And then everyone was getting married and engaged and all these things. And I just kind of went along for the ride and was their photographer. And after I graduated, I just basically was like, this is what I'm going to try to do for a while. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. How did you know that you wanted like that you were ready to go full time? Did you kind of just jump into it or was there like a financial place that you were like, okay, I'm ready for this or what?
I feel like I got kind of lucky. So when I graduated college, I moved back to my like family property and I got to live in like the guest house rent free. So that was great.
hmm
And I worked at a camera shop part time and bartended part time, and then also did photography. So I just kind of like
Okay.
had like other jobs to kind of help support me. I didn't have to pay rent, so I had like that financial freedom to also pursue photography, not be as stressed out about it. And
Gotcha.
then I quit the bar pretty quickly and just did the photography shop and photography. So I think I stayed there for like 2.5 years. But I also got all of my gear on like super discount, like employee discount. So I stayed
Yeah.
until my entire bag was stacked, like ready to
Yeah.
go. It was awesome.
Do you feel like working at that camera shop helped you learn stuff about photography other than just like getting the gear? Like, do you feel like you learned stuff
So
from that?
much.
Yeah.
So much because we were talking to like reps like weekly, like Nikon, Canon, Sony, and at the time I was Canon, so I was full throttle with that, and I learned so
hmm
much about like fixing cameras, all the settings on every camera, memory cards, like anything you need to like have a fully functioning system, and like how to handle weather with camera stuff, like literally everything. Like I can fix a camera, like I am not scared of that. So like
Wow.
that's pretty cool to like learn a lot like hands on there, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. And I know like I'm sure everyone's like, "Wait, you don't shoot Canon?" Like I definitely am now a Sony shooter. And so like that job really taught me a lot about Sony and I've always like appreciated Sony. So like when I made the
Okay.
switch, I knew how the systems work. I knew how everything was. So it wasn't as scary for me to like do that jump, I guess.
Okay. So I guess we can transition into literally the question I had of you about Sony. So obviously, like you use Sony, but kind of expand on what gear do you use and like why did you choose to switch over to Sony?
Yeah. I feel like, well, I was shooting with the Canon 5D3s, no, 4s, the 5D4s, and I thought they were great, but it was like very noticeable that like I needed to update my cameras. Like either I was going to buy two whole new bodies before the summer or before the next year because my shutter count was quite high, or I needed to switch. And so I was like, okay, well, at the time the Canon R something had just came out and everyone's talking about it and it was very expensive for one, and it was overheating all the time. Everyone was talking about how it was overheating, and I was like, well, I don't want a camera that overheats like for $4,000. Like that's kind of ridiculous. And to me, in a sense, Sony was like the forefront for like mirrorless cameras. Like they were the first, they're the best. They also make Nikon sensors, or at least they used to when I worked at the camera shop. So like
Oh,
Nikons are actually Sony cameras. So in terms of like their
okay.
sensor, which is yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, at least they were when I worked at the shop, which is like 7 years ago now, but, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still doing that, but they were for a while, so
Mhm.
it's just, like, crazy with that, and then I was like, "Okay, well, Sony's, like, kind of the underdog here, they know what they're doing, they've been doing it the longest," and then Canon, their newest model is overheating. Their last mirrorless model was so bad they had to discontinue it, and so I was like,
Oh,
why would
yeah.
I go with Canon? Like, why? And
Yeah.
Sony's half the price. I could sell all my gear and buy all the Sony gear and not lose a dime. I'd actually break even. I was like, well, duh, I'm gonna do that. And so I did,
Yeah.
and it worked out great.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what gear do you have now then in the Sony line?
I have the two A7 threes. Actually, literally before we got on the call, I purchased an A7 IV, which I'm really excited
Yeah.
about. So excited. And then I have like the 35. I have all G Master lenses. So I have the
Okay.
24, the 35, the 50, the 85. Yes.
Okay.
The core, like four lenses, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I shoot on the A9 too, but I
Ooh.
yes, I know. And I like the A9 because it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit more for photo versus like the A7s are so good for photo and video and like I never do
Yes,
video. So,
for sure.
I definitely looked into the A7 IV because I have literally A7 threes, but like I just the A9 was always like of interest to me. But literally any
I
Sony
love it.
camera, I'm just like, I love you. Like I need you
Yes.
right now.
They're, like, lightweight and the electronic viewfinders, everything, and just I don't know, they're great. I feel like
Yeah.
people used to, like, talk so much shit about Sony before and be like, "Oh, they don't look like a real professional camera," and now everyone's like, "Well, shit, I want a light camera, like, that thing's pretty awesome."
Yeah, I do feel like Sony kind of has been making this like not like comeback, but like they're like kind of up and coming, I
Oh,
guess.
totally.
Or like they're kind of like I don't know if they're peaking, but they're definitely like a major competition with Canon right now, especially with like Canon
Yes.
coming out with the mirrorless camera. Like it just shows that like Canon's a little bit intimidated or like by
Oh, yeah,
like what's going on.
definitely.
I don't know.
No, it's awesome. Well, and I feel like Sony does like, I'm getting so gearhead here, but, like, I feel like Sony, like, they make so much more than just cameras, like, they're just electronically geniuses, and so
Right.
it's like, Canon just does cameras and printers, basically. They don't really do I think they have telescopes and binoculars, but I think that's it, and
Yeah.
so which is all still a lens, so it's like, it's just so, like, I don't know, I feel like Sony just, like, knows what they're doing when it comes to electronics, like, they got it.
True, like, they have TVs and other things, sound bars,
All the
like
things. Yeah, sound bars. I think I
yeah,
have a Sony sound bar.
probably. Oh, yeah, okay, awesome. Well, let's switch gears and let's talk about the first topic, for today, which is work-life balance. And I wanted to
Cool.
ask you this because you, like, have a kid, and
Mhm.
I like to ask specifically moms this question because I feel like
Yeah.
they are, like, in the process of mastering or, like, have mastered how to do this whole thing. So, how do you balance your work with your home life?
Oh gosh. Honestly, I feel like it's really hard, but it's just you just kind of figure it out as you go. My
Mhm,
husband is a stay-at-home dad. I'm very fortunate for that, and so we have a really good routine. We have an amazing babysitter. Like, we
mhm.
have a very good situation that we can handle everything for the most part. Um, but I just noticed that especially once I had my son, I don't know, I feel like before I had him, I would say, like, I could never get all this stuff done in one day. I was always like, "I'm so overwhelmed, I have so much to do," but I never had a kid. And then I had a kid, and I was like, "How the hell am I gonna do all this now with a kid?" And so it's just like it's weird because now that I have him, I feel like I work 10 times harder in the 2 hours that I get
Yeah.
versus an 8-hour day without a child, and I would still never get it done because I no one else is, like, asking for me to do anything, you know? So I feel
Yeah.
like I just work a lot harder in the small amount of time that I let myself have so that I can go spend it with him or go on a walk with my family or go do something.
Right. It almost, like, motivates you to be more efficient because you have
Yeah.
other things knocking at the door. Like, I can definitely relate with the first version of you who literally is like, "Oh, I'm so busy and I have no time," when in reality, it's like, "Okay, Cassidy, you can get this done, and then you can have free time." I totally relate with that, but it's interesting how your perspective shifts, and it's almost like I could start applying that now. So if something like if I did have a kid later down,
Yeah.
like, on the road, like,
Like
I would
down.
already yeah, down, like, way down the highway, like, multiple states away, I would be ready for that, you know what I mean?
Yes, 100%. It's like it's seriously a mindset shift, and so there's not necessarily this balance. It just I had to just kind of get my shit together in the allotted time that I'm allowed to have, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's just otherwise I'm just missing out. I can hear my kid in the living room behind me giggling it up all day with my husband or the babysitter, and I'm so jealous that I want to be out there. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta get my stuff done so I get to be out there giggling with him because that looks like way more fun than emailing or admin work or something else.
Right. So when you did have your kid, how did you like figure out like so obviously like maybe you had shoots booked or like how did you figure out
Yeah.
like maternity leave and all of that?
Oh gosh, that was so hard. I ended up having him 3 weeks early too, so I actually think that that benefited us because then I got an additional 3 weeks to kind of recover postpartumly and
Mhm.
take care of my body in the way I needed to and to figure out how to be a mom because that was really hard, and my husband worked until he was 3 months old, and so we had to, like, really figure that out. We ended up getting a babysitter that helped us during once he hit, like, 7 or 8 weeks, and she would come over in the morning for, like, a couple of hours so I could get work done while she just literally sat on the couch and held him because he was just, like a floppy little baby. And
Yeah.
so she would just sit on the couch and snuggle him. I'd get my work done. And then when my husband got home from work, I would go do my photo shoots. And so we just kind of had like this rotating thing where like someone was always with the kiddo if it wasn't
Mhm.
me. But it was hard. Nights were long. He did not sleep. I did not sleep. I slept on the couch with him for 7 weeks, sitting up, holding him because I was so afraid to like lay him down because I was like, oh my God, if I lay him down, something's gonna happen and I'm gonna fall asleep and I'm not gonna know. Like I was just a scared new mom. It was so bad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. What tips would you have for someone that's like struggling with the work-life balance? Like just in general. It doesn't even have to be like a kid, but just like I don't know if they have another job or something like that.
I mean, I would just try to like balance it out in the sense of like figuring out like every week, like what's your most important to dos and block it into your schedule. And I'm a batch worker. I prefer to work like in sections. So like all of social media, I do in one section. Like I plan out the feed or do whatever. All of my culling, I do in one section. All of my editing, all my emailing. I don't like doing that stuff every single day. So I'd rather pick like emails for 2 days a week and then like, as little as possible. And
Right.
social media one day a week, like that kind of stuff, so that when I get to do it, I'm fully into it instead of like doing a section of it and then going to something else in a section. So I just, if you're a batch worker like that, try to section it. I feel like it might help. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, batch working is so important for work-life balance. I feel like also just
Yeah.
like setting your schedule for like this day I'm working and then like this day I'm not or like literally
Yes.
acting as if you are like scheduling yourself shifts. Like I have my editing shift
100%.
tonight. Like you really have to do that if
Yeah,
it's something that you're struggling with. And honestly, even if you're not struggling with it, I feel like it's good to do it because then you'd be more efficient with your time like we were just talking about. We don't always realize
totally.
that we're not being efficient?
Yeah, I have to put my phone on do not disturb mode, like the little moon thing. I have to put music on. I cannot watch movies or Netflix or anything anymore when editing because I end up just staring and then 30 minutes goes by. And I'm like, what just happened? I did not edit the last 30 minutes, even though I've seen the movie
Yeah.
1,000 times.
Mhm.
I also like, I feel like when you like write things down and have that like checklist kind of thing, I feel like a lot of creatives love their checklist. They love to cross it off
Yes.
in a
Yeah.
notebook with your 15th notebook on your desk. It's like a thing. I feel like getting to cross off like that batch section of your day is the best feeling. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That also helps too with like the motivation that you got it done.
Right, exactly. No, I like that a lot. I do have like a paper planner thing that has like a little section for check boxes. Which is
Yes.
it's so nice because then one you can schedule out your week and like write yourself in for like, oh, I'm doing this from this time or whatever. But also it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's my planner sometimes acts as my boss a little bit. Like I see it sitting there and I'm like, I feel very convicted by the fact that I'm staring at you and I'm not working and I should be working or I'm on Instagram or whatever.
Oh my
Or
gosh, that's
also,
so true.
yes, or the notes app too on my phone. I like that a lot because I can go from my laptop to my phone. So I
Yes.
use like the little like check boxes that Apple has. And that's just a nice,
Same.
like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like a nice thing. You can like transfer your info from your weekly planner, like the paper planner, over to your phone just so
Yeah.
you have like a day thing that you can do. But there's so many small things that you can do to just kind of help with staying on top of things.
100%. Even just like finding like an app that you really like that helps you take notes. Like there's this app I use called Milanote, and I'm obsessed. It makes me excited to, like, make my notes or make a mood board or figure out something for my VA or something like that. Like, it just makes me so much, like, happier to do stuff because it's, like, aesthetically pretty and it makes sense for my brain, and I love it. Whereas, like,
Yeah,
a lot of people love, like, Trello or Asana or something else. So if, like, you
right.
find, like, that program that works for you, you'll be more excited to work, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about locations real quick. I
Oh
don't know
gosh.
why I felt the need to ask you this, but it's like she's from Oregon. Like I just feel like the locations in Oregon are so good. So I wanted to ask you, like, how do you go about finding your locations? Like, what's your process? Even for like in state, like where you live, and then out of state for some place you haven't been before.
Oh gosh. In-state, I mean, if it's like a local thing and I just need to find like a new spot, I'll just get coffee, drive around, and just look at every single thing, or I make my husband drive so I can like be stalking every street trying to find a new wall for senior photos or something like that.
Yeah.
If it's for like elopement or couples or something more like outdoor adventurous, I feel like a lot of it is just like lately, actually, I feel like Pinterest and TikTok have been sharing really good locations. Even if they don't
Okay.
say like where they are, you can do some stalking and figure it out.
Yeah, totally.
Um, a lot of it is just like anytime I have like an elopement somewhere, I try to go like hours before or the day before, stay the night and do some scouting while I'm there for other locations like that are nearby it. So I can like park on the side of the road, see all those little trails, check them out. And then if they're awesome, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep this in my back pocket for the next time I'm here. Or if it rains that day and we can't hike to this one spot, now I have a backup. Like it's just nice
Right.
to have those other spots. It just takes a lot of time, I feel like, and
It does.
scheduling it so that you can make sure you have the time to go and just check it out. So it's also awkward when you're alone. I don't like doing that,
Yes.
but you kind of have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, you feel kinda dumb doing it alone for sure, but it's
Yes.
important to do it because you wanna be prepared, and I think that's, like, something that really impacts client experience too, is just, like, kind of like being the boss and being in charge and being like, "Okay, here are the
Yes.
spots, here's where we're going," or going to your clients and being like, "Here are some options, like, which one do you think fits your vibe best?" Like, either one of those things is a huge factor in client experience, so if you don't, like, location scout, like, I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice, one, because the photos aren't gonna
100%.
turn out as good, but also your clients get, like, a worse experience with you.
Oh, completely. I feel like having, like, a plan A, B, and C for every elopement is, like, crucial as our job. Like, you might not feel like you're supposed to be doing that, but I really yes, you're not supposed to, but if you do it, you are giving a better client experience for sure. I just think,
Right.
there's just you never know what's gonna happen, especially if you live in the, like, the Pacific Northwest. The rain, the snow, the sunshine, it changes
Yeah.
every 25 minutes here, and you just have to be ready, like and if your client for some reason can't hike that day or it's too muddy and it's slippery, like you have to find something that's like more safe or I don't know, anything like that. It's just it takes time, but it's worth it. Even if you just have your phone and you snap some pics and you text it to them, like that's still good enough versus like shooting these beautiful location photos and like anything that you can show them to be like, hey, this is a cool second location, then they're most
Yeah.
likely gonna be down for it if you're down for it.
Right, yeah. It is so good to have a plan B. Like that I feel like that's half the game with photography, is just being
Yeah,
prepared for the worst case scenario, even like with backing up your
always.
photos or like having extra gear. Like always being prepared because you just never know what's going to happen. That's it with anything in life, but with photography it's literally our job. There's so many factors, so you have to be prepared.
Literally. Oh my gosh, no, my friend just posted this morning on her stories that she was shooting with 2 memory cards, one of them corrupted, and she went to check it on her computer, like, "What the hell is wrong with this card?" It said the last time she shot with it is in 1979.
Uh,
Like, what? That's literally not even possible, like, that's not.
I'm
So, clearly that
sorry.
card is corrupted.
Yeah, or like the date was set wrong too, right? Like, couldn't
I
you
don't know,
set the
but,
date
like,
back that far?
I don't know if you can do it on the card like that. I don't think she did that. It was just,
Oh,
like,
yeah, because it
corrupt.
would be the camera. That is so funny. It's like
Yeah.
literally black and white, like film photos on this SD card. Like,
I
it's like
would
your
die
photos
if she just found
look like.
gold. People are gonna
Oh,
want
that's so funny.
expired cards now, like, that's the new
Ye
thing is expired
yes,
memory cards, not film.
the vibe. Corrupted cards all
Yeah,
the way.
always.
Yes. Well,
Oh,
earlier
we
we
just
were
jinx
talking about.
anybody.
Yes, yes. Earlier we were talking about client experience, like briefly. So I kind of wanted to dive into that too. I
Yeah.
basically just kind of wanted to hear like what your client experience is. I saw that you have like a course on your website for client
Mhm.
experience. So just kind of like, I don't know, break it down for us a little bit and give us some gold, some deets.
Oh my gosh. I feel like client experience all comes down to, like, the connection with your client and, like, creating, like, a positive environment for them and, like, just really I hate the word experience again, but it really is, like, giving your client the best experience possible, and that comes down to so many things, but, like, it truly just comes down to you, like, respecting your client, treating them like just actual people, and thinking
Mhm.
about, like, how you would wanna be treated in that situation, so, obviously, like, talking to your client a lot, listening to their needs, I'm huge on love languages, and so checking in with them on the ways that, like, they need help, like, if they love acts of service, I'm all about, like, obviously location scouting, location planning, outfit help. If they are, like, words of affirmation, then if they send me outfit pictures, I'll be, like, even more so, like, overly, like, excited more than just, like, my normal, very excited nature. I don't know,
Yeah.
just kinda, like, however, like, genuinely that you can be for them to help their experience be better. Like I said, vendor help, planning locations, phone calls, texts, FaceTimes, and then like obviously like the day of experience and making
Yeah.
sure it's like very catered to them and not like at least personally, like I don't pose a lot. I'm more of like a directing kind of photographer, like action based. And so like I'll tell them to walk somewhere and snuggle up. I don't typically tell them like pose like this, hand here, do this. Like I let them fall into it naturally and for myself, photography that works really well in a way to like capture their story and make it feel like a unique experience to them and not like what I do at every shoot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I would love for you to talk a little bit more about like the posing and directing part of it.
Yeah.
Like how does it look when you show up to a session? Like what are some of the things you would say like that aren't posy but are more directing?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times it happens, like, naturally with, like, getting to know my couples through the questionnaire or prompting them with, like, "I want you guys to think about your relationship and how you guys act at home," or let's say it's, like, me and my husband and someone's asking about us, like, "What happens when I get home from a photo shoot?" Like, or when we wake up in the morning and, like, he comes out to hang out with me and my kiddo, like, does he snuggle with us on the couch or do I sit between his legs or does he kiss me on the forehead or are we hand holders or like arm over the shoulder kind of couple? Like asking those types of things, like if I want my couples to sit on the ground, I'm like, how do you guys normally sit on the couch? Versus like, I want you to sit between so and so's legs and lean like this and arm like this. Like, I don't say any of that. I'm just like, how do you guys sit on the
Okay.
couch? I want you to do that here. So it's
Okay.
however they are at home and they can bring it to the session to like feel the most natural versus posing how I want them to look, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. What if a couple like you say like, "Oh, sit on the ground, snuggle up how you normally would." And they're like, "Well, I don't know how I normally would." Like, what do you do then? Like truly I'm
Then I
over here
give them
thinking
no, totally, I get that all the time. So they'll be like, well, normally our dog's in the middle, normally I'm laying like this." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's try like, would you normally sit between their legs, or would you lean on them, or do you, like, tuck your toes under and sit far away as possible, or do you just not sit together? You have totally different chairs." And they're like, "No, no, no. Okay, we would do it like this." And, like, I think if you give them ideas sometimes
Okay.
their couples are just so nervous, I feel like they want to please us so badly and make our photos so beautiful versus, like,
Mhm.
we're trying to make their photos of them beautiful, like, it's, like, backwards, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's just, like, helping them get there. If they're questioning how you're posing them or, like, they're stiff, it's normally because 'cause they're still so nervous. So you just have to, like, bring it, like, even more, like, chill for them in a sense or, like, a little bit more of a prompt, but even then, I still don't have them, like, put their hand here, foot here, lean or knee this way. I just am like, "Hey, do you want to sit like this?" And they're like, "Yeah, sounds good." And then I leave them alone. I back up real far, and then they like fall into place, and it's so nice.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. How would you deal with most of the time it's usually the guys that are a little more like awkward or like hesitant. So how would you like approach that from a posing perspective when like probably like the directing is probably like awkward for them? Do you know what I mean? Like how
Yeah.
would you deal with someone that's literally so awkward that it's like actually affecting the photos and you're like, "Well, these don't look great." So,
I don't know. I feel like a lot of the guys are so awkward, and I tell them like, "I'm not going to pose you. I'm going to just tell you like some ideas, and I want you to roll with it, and I want you to be as natural as possible, and I want you to never look at the camera." And
mhm.
honestly, just me telling them that, they're like, "Thank God." I don't know why. They're always so grateful that they're not going to be like pose like what their mom made them do for their Christmas card photos when they were children, like or at, JCPenney Studios, like it's not that vibe again. So like
Mhm.
I feel like it's just, like, telling them from the beginning, like, "Hey, I'm not gonna be your worst enemy, like, I'm gonna make this as easy and as chill as possible, and we're gonna have
Yeah.
so much fun, and I just want you to love on your person and not worry about me and just, like, just have a good time." Also affirming them throughout the whole session, like, if it's my husband, he hates his photo being taken, but when the photographer is, like, affirming him constantly and, like, telling him, like, "Oh, you're doing great, Dusty, like, you're killing it, like, keep moving around, just kinda, you know, pull in Dawn's face, give her a kiss, or play with the baby," or something like that, like, he's like, "Okay, give
Mhm.
me something to do, like, just keep telling me something next, like,
Yeah.
to do," but she won't say, like, "Touch Dawn's chin here and pull her in here," like, it's like, "Hey, pull her face in for a kiss," or, like, "Go in for a kiss," like, it's very natural, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that helps. Yeah.
yeah.
That I literally just forgot immediately what I was gonna say because I was just so
No.
distracted by what you were saying. Amazing. Um, I remember now. So with like your like sessions, how like do you do a lot of like talking with them beforehand? Like you mentioned like a questionnaire. Like
Mhm.
what touch points do you have with them before? And do you feel like that impacts like how the session goes?
Oh, 100%. So it could be definitely the questionnaire. Try to send it between like a month and 2 weeks before the session. It's very much like a get to know you kind of thing. Like, what do you guys do for work? Who's Big Spoon? Like, like that kind of stuff. I ask if there's like an activity that they always do together, if they'd like to incorporate that in their session, if there's like a feeling that they want their session to convey, like whether it's like fun or romantic or nostalgic
Mhm.
or something. And then I have like 2 sections at the bottom that are separated per person in the couple. And so it's
Mhm.
like person 1, person 2 answers these, and they're the same questions for both people. And it's just asking like, what's your favorite thing about your partner? And when you guys first met, like what was their first thoughts about this partner? Like where's your favorite place to be with this person? Like stuff like that. And almost always the answers are identical, which is so cool. And I feel
Yeah.
like it is such a good way to get to know the people you're about to photograph. Um, and then like with that, I typically have like a FaceTime day or a phone call beforehand, and we'll talk about like locations, outfits again, like just double checking everything. And a lot of times, if it is a girl guy couple, I mostly just talk to the girl just because they're the ones who are overly excited planning. I feel like I don't know. It's so
Yeah.
dependent on every couple, but it's fine if I never even talk to the guy until the shoot. Like I still have no problem. I feel like it goes great as long as you're just very communicative, like at the session still. Like I'm not one to like I'm definitely quiet while I'm shooting if I can be, unless they need me to talk a lot. But
Okay.
walking between the shoot spots, like from the car to location, changing outfits, I'm talking a lot, getting to know. But like during the shooting part, I try to be more quiet unless they need a lot of like affirmation and direction.
Okay, that's interesting. I feel like when I'm shooting, I'm almost the opposite. I'm like constantly talking so that they kind of like forget that they're getting their photo taken, you know? But
I love that. Yeah.
I do understand like being quiet during the session would help with them to focus more on themselves too, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So
It's challenging. It's
oh,
different.
I'm
I used to
sure.
be like a talker at shoots, and then I've slowly like pulled back and like if I am talking with them, the camera's still in my face, but like I'm trying not to like talk and just like be a part of it. I'm like, nope, you're still gotta capture them. Like even if you're talking to them, like still capture them. It's so hard
Right.
because otherwise you miss
Yeah.
the good stuff. Like if you guys all
Yeah.
start laughing and you're like, oh, that was really good. Like
Yeah,
do
for
that again.
real. With your weddings then, what touch points do you have with people, like, from when they book to when you shoot the wedding?
Oh
Is it, like,
gosh.
a little bit more extensive? Like, how does that
If they
look?
want it to be, it so depends on every couple. Like, some people are
Mhm.
like, "Oh, we'll just talk to you when we talk to you." Some couples literally text me weekly when they buy anything for the elopement. Like, "We got umbrellas, we got a rug, we hired another vendor." I'm like, "Yes, tell me everything." And then
Yeah.
some couples don't, and that's fine. Like, it's so dependent on the couple, and, like, one of them, we literally FaceTimed for, like, 30 minutes for her wedding, and then I had to feed my son and change his diaper and do all these things, and I was like, do you want to keep FaceTiming or do you want to hang up?" And she's like, "I'll stick along." And so she just like hung out with me as I did all my like daily chores and hung out with my kiddo and took care of him. And we had a blast,
Yeah.
like FaceTiming on the ground, and he was like playing with toys. So like
Mhm.
some clients are very like invested in the call FaceTime text process, and some are just like, "Hey, send me the questionnaire, send me locations, send me your elopement guide." and we'll talk to you as we get closer. It just
Yeah.
depends. I feel like I cater it to each client with their needs. I'm not like overwhelming anybody who doesn't want to be overwhelmed, I guess.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And that's part of like the client experience part of it too, is just knowing like kind of their almost like their love language. Like some people
Yeah,
like to be like have their hand held through the whole journey. Some people are definitely
totally.
more of like, I want to plan this myself and I just need you to show up and take photos, which is also
Yeah,
like, either one of those people, they're great people. So yeah.
totally. It's funny. This year I have a good range of like couples, and it's really fun to like when I do get to talk to the people I don't talk to as often. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so pumped about your day. You have so much to tell me because we don't talk weekly or something.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Something that I did want to ask you, kind of more about like your editing shooting style. It's just literally
Yeah,
I just about your style in general, I guess, because I feel like your style is very unique and I can always tell like when your photos pop up on my feed. So
well, thank you.
I am just curious, like, how did you get to that point where you found that editing and shooting style that you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is like everything that I've hoped it would be. Like, what
Oh
did it
gosh.
take to get you to that point?
It's so funny because I feel like I'm constantly like evolving and changing because I look back like 6 months ago and I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And
Yeah.
it's funny to like have somebody else's perspective on that. But I don't know. I just think it comes with just doing this for so long. I've been full time for 7 years. Like it's
Right.
been a long time, and I feel like I've honed in more and more on like not the comparison game, even though like it still gets me every once in a while, but like
Mhm.
just really just focusing on me and my clients and like what their needs are. Like honestly, that's like that is it. Like every time I shoot with my couple, I'm shooting it for them. And so
Okay.
like how the photos turn out is based off of like what they give back to me, like in terms of like their energy and like what they're open to sharing with me so that I'm able to photograph them and like their
Yeah.
story to the best of my ability. But in terms of like editing, oh gosh, I feel like that was just like a slow growth to find, but I mean, I'm evolving it like every day still. I feel like it's
Right.
never like right where I want it to be.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, and that's the part of like kind of like the art side of photography. Like, I don't ever feel like you get to a point where it's like, I am completely content with everything I do. And I'm
oh
not going to
yeah,
change a single thing. And I'm just going to keep doing this exact thing for the rest of my life. Cause that would get boring. And then we would find something that we want
100%.
to change. And that's
Yep,
just kind of how it goes. So I like that answer. It's like things are always changing, but I definitely did cringe things in the past. Like, I can definitely relate to that.
100%. I don't want to look back at old stuff.
No one does. Literally, like some of my old stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what was I thinking? I used to like really hardcore like matte my blacks like on the tone curve. Like I would
Ooh,
bring, yeah, oh yeah, it's really
ooh.
bad. And I look back at that, I'm like, I'm never ever matting blacks, even just a little bit. Never doing it again.
So funny. I feel like I go through this like phase of like my blacks, like when I do black and whites, especially where I'm like, oh, I really want it like a crisp black and white, and now I want it soft and vintage. And then like some days I'm like, oh, do you want to go like more sepia with this? I'm like, no, no, we don't. What am I thinking? Where am I going?
Oh gosh, yeah. That is not. I've never had that dilemma before. I have no desire to do that, but that is so funny. Oh man. Okay. So the last topic I wanted to talk to you about, and I feel like we could talk about this for a while because
Oh
it's
God,
Instagram and we can always talk about Instagram.
always.
Yes, literally. So I wanted to hear just like first, like how did you grow your platform? Like kind of walk me through like what your Instagram journey has looked like.
Okay, well, to be completely honest, I've had Instagram since it started. This Dawn photo account
Perfect.
has been my number one account since Instagram started. So I got that like boost when Instagram. God, how old was I? 19, 18 when it started. I'm 31 now. So I've had
Oh
Instagram for what,
wow.
12 years? So
Yeah.
I got it my freshman year of college. So I was either 18 or 19? So
Mhm.
it's been a long time. A lot of people are like, oh my God, you just hit this many followers. I'm like, no, 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 no. This has been a long, slow growth. I
Okay.
worked very hard for a very long time to achieve where I'm at now.
Okay.
And Instagram is like this like such a long haul game, except for now with Reels, I feel like people can grow so fast, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But before Reels, before stories, it was just hashtags and feature accounts. That's like how you would grow is being
Okay.
found through hashtags, the explore page, and getting featured. And there was so many feature accounts when like I feel like a wedding and elopement and like adventure photography really picked up, which I feel like was like, 5, 6 years ago was like when it really blew up that like you could get
Mhm.
married outside with less people. Oh,
Wow.
I know, right? Crazy. It's just like so funny to me. So I feel like once that started to happen, I'm also based in Oregon, which makes aesthetically wise very easy to do because Oregon is very, very pretty and
Right.
everyone wants to photograph here. So it's really fun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it was like a lot of just slow growth, hashtags. And honestly, a lot of it was too like, I feel like connecting with other people, responding to people, creating friendships, like actually messaging people back and like commenting back, like not like, I don't know. I feel like I've always tried to be really good about that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Kind of like making your page, even though you're bigger, like your account's bigger, like making it still feel like a normal account where like if someone comments, like you'll respond and yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
I feel like that's so important. Like, I follow so many people who have, oh, hey, more followers than me. And I don't even think that, like, I honestly try not to think about my follower number because I'm literally just a human who runs a photography business just like everyone else. Like, yes, I happen to have a lot of followers. Yes, it's great, but it didn't just come out of nowhere. But the people that I
Right.
follow that have a huge following, and when I message them and they respond, I'm like, whoa, that was awesome. Like, thank you. Because I
Yeah.
know that they get a lot of messages and I think it's also dependent on like how people respond to you, like, or how people message you. Like, there's some people I just can't respond to because they're like, "How did you do this?" I'm like, "Hi, good morning. How's it going? How's your day? Like, do you want to have a conversation?"
Tell
Which,
me all
like,
your
can you
secrets
send me?
right now.
I know they're like they'll ask me like 6 paragraphs worth of stuff, and I'm like, I have mentorships. Like, you can't just ask me all that. Like, that's kind of ridiculous. I wouldn't ask
Yeah.
anybody that stuff. Like, oh, there was, like, a good 3 months where I got DMs every week asking me if I could find them models for their shoots, and I never talked to
Oh,
these people ever. They wouldn't say
wow.
hi, and it was
Yeah.
every couple days, and I was like, why am I becoming known for finding models? I never said that I would do this. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Like, where did these
That's
people come from?"
so random. Wow. With
So random.
yeah, with clients, how do you feel like your Instagram has impacted like your booking? Like, do you feel like most people find you on Instagram or is it at this point like word of
Um
mouth?
I feel like it used to be, like, really intense at Instagram, but I'm focusing so much more on Google right now and blogs, like, I outsource my blogging, but we work on it, like, heavily, we push out a lot of blogs, we're really working on, like, SEO on my website because I don't trust Instagram at all, to be completely honest, like, I feel like
Yeah.
it's gonna crash and burn at some point, like, I don't know, with, like, how TikTok grew and, like, Pinterest is growing and Clubhouse was a thing for a minute, like, all this stuff, like, I'm just like, I just don't wanna trust this silly little app to make the money that my family and I need,
Right.
and it just scares me to put all my eggs in, like, that one basket, so I do focus on Instagram, but I try to focus it very, like, 60/40 in a sense, where I'm focusing more on Google, and now my bookings in the last year have switched for, like I feel like it was, like, 70% Instagram, and now it's 70% Google, which I love, and it's fantastic.
Oh wow. So you're outsourcing all your bloggings. Are you doing like
Yeah.
really anything for that or is it literally just like I'm handing it off and it's like
Oh, yeah.
working for itself?
Handing it off and we're yeah, we, like, have our calls and we schedule out, like, what we wanna put out there and do the like, she does a lot of the research for, like, what would benefit my business, and obviously, I have to, like, make sure I get all the photo shoots to her and all that kinda stuff, but, yeah, it's been pretty awesome. I feel like I create if I get to do anything fun for myself to create content, it's always with blogs in mind of, like, what I could do with it. So, like, if I
Okay.
do, like, a fun styled shoot or something, I'm like, how many blog posts can I write with this one photo shoot? Like, how many can not I write, the amazing girl Danielle, but how many can she write with this one photo shoot? And so I'm like, sunrise versus sunset, or how to eat
Yeah.
at an elopement, or what to
Okay.
do for blue hour at an elopement. Like anything you can think of, like how many things can we fit into this one session to
Right.
boost my bookings or help more couples like understand what they can do with their day. Like even if it's
Yeah.
like our already a booked couple, if I'm benefiting them, like again, client experience and just yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I think it's awesome to like diversify yourself in that way and to focus on other things besides Instagram. Obviously, like on the podcast, I love to talk about Instagram because it's just so interesting and it's fun. But at the same time, you do have to think about the longevity of things. That's why I really like
Yes.
Pinterest because I think like the longevity on Pinterest is just like it's
It's
outstanding. Like
incredible.
yeah, like the traction you can get on Pinterest, I feel like is just so much more reliable. So yeah, I like the idea of just trying to diversify yourself a little bit because Instagram is
Yeah,
really saturated. And like you said, it could go away. So you just never know what's going to happen. So it's good to do that.
100%. I feel like it's so good to, like, also just have knowledge on other things. Like, if you love Pinterest, then, like, Google and blogging is, like, also great because they all go together. Like, Pinterest is literally a search engine, which is what Google is. So, it's
Right.
cool how much the 2 things connect, and I don't know, I think it's just awesome to, like, again, like you said, diversify everything. And I feel like it's
Yeah.
just fun to, like, so many people get bogged down on Instagram because, like, the comparison game or the exhaustion or whatever with it, or, like, maybe you don't wanna make reels or maybe stories scare you. So how else can you show up for your business and find more people to book you potentially that aren't competing with other people necessarily? And that's
Yeah.
where like Pinterest and Google's and blog posts and like all that kind of stuff can really like grow for you.
Yeah, totally. Well, I did want to like talk a little bit about Instagram, even though we're saying like,
Yeah,
don't use Instagram too much.
that's okay.
Like,
No, I
but
mean I still use it. Yeah.
yeah, obviously, like we both use it. Obviously, I'm obsessed with it. But I wanted to ask you just like a few tips, like if you had a few pointers for using Instagram as a photographer, that you could share with whoever's listening that you feel like would be helpful for
Oh
anyone,
gosh.
really.
Okay, well, first off, like, I would just 100% like show up as yourself. Like, if you can story as much as possible or do that in real form or whatever, but showing up as like yourself, talking on there. I know it's scary. I know we all like some people don't love it. I personally love it. I've gotten used to it. But like showing up on stories, showing your personality, showing what you do throughout the day, not just photography. Like, what movies do you watch? Like, do you have dogs? Do you have kids? Like, whatever. Like, your clients want to get to know you and like connect with you on another level that's not just your artwork. And so
Yeah.
that's your way of convincing them that you're the person for them because maybe you just love margaritas and watching Twilight like me. I don't know. And maybe you'll book clients like that. Like, I don't know.
Watching Twilight, I am dead.
It's the best. I literally watch it all the time. Don't
You're
even
like,
judge. You should
this
know
is
this.
me. Oh, girl, I'm an Edward Cullen girly to the end.
Yes,
Like, I am
100%.
here.
Yes. Team Edward all the way through,
That
100%.
is
But just,
so
like,
funny.
showing up in, like, a very personal way is so good.
Yes.
I would make sure I know this sounds like I feel like it's kind of old school now when you talk about Instagram, but I would really make sure that your highlights are curated. So many people's highlights are old, so
Yeah.
old, and, like, it happens very fast because 'cause you're not aware of it. Because when you maybe put it all together during COVID, and now it's 2 years old, guys, like, we need to curate the highlights again.
Oh, yeah.
And then on top that's, like, a big one, I feel like.
It
Because I don't know,
is.
I personally check highlights before I DM somebody because 'cause I'm like, "Let's look at past reviews, let's look at BTS shoots," but, like, I don't
Yeah.
wanna see BTS shoots from 2 years ago when you're using some crazy filter. Like, I don't wanna see it. It's different
Yeah.
now, like, things have changed. Like,
No, for real. And I get DMs all the time of people being like, "Oh, I saw this on your story like a couple weeks ago and now I can't find it." Like, and then because I didn't highlight it, it's like, okay, I either have to go back and highlight it or I have to repost it again. And I'm like, if I would just
literally.
highlight it in the first place, we never have this issue, you know?
Yep, it's all about that batch working. You're gonna do your
Yes.
stories, post it to your highlights, and then clean up
Right.
your highlights at the same time. Yes.
Exactly.
Even though I never do that, so I need to do that.
Yes.
Take my own advice, please. And then also with that, like, working on your captions and, like, trying to put energy into your captions, whether that's because you don't always have to talk about your couples. Like, if you're posting
Yeah.
about a couple, you don't always have to talk about them. You can talk to the person who's gonna book you because of that session. So,
Mhm.
what do they wanna hear from you about this session? Like, maybe you shot at the beach. Maybe you wanna book more sessions at the beach. So, like, what can you talk about in this section that's not about this amazing sweet couple here, but more so, like, why the beach inspires you or why you're an expert as a beach photographer or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, utilize your captions as a way to connect to the next person, I guess.
Yeah. Those 3 things are honestly huge because right now I feel like everyone's focusing so heavily on reels, to the point where it's like you don't even post to your feed anymore and you're not even posting
Yeah.
stories anymore. You're spending all your time creating this reel. I literally think Instagram is at the point where it's like you have to use every single one of our features, otherwise we hate you.
Yep.
So stories, feed posts, reels, like those are the main 3, but you kind of really
Yep.
have to use them all. because
Mhm.
it's like the same thing we're talking about with Instagram and then blogging and then Pinterest. Like you can't put all of your eggs in one basket, so you can't rely on
Yeah.
reels all the time, or you can't rely on feed posts all the time. We saw that when Instagram shifted to more video based, the people that
Yep.
relied on feed posts were like, well, crap, like what do I do now because I don't know how to make a
Literally.
video. So I think it's good to like, use all three of those. So that's really good advice.
No, I love that. I love the idea of, like, a balance between them, and, like, if you like we said with batch working too, like, if you know every week that daily to post stories, which is should be easy enough for you to, like, hop on there 3 to 5 times a day or shoot all your content for the day, like, little phone videos, clips, pictures, and then at the end of the day, just, like, batch post them when you're free. And
Mhm.
then with, like, reels and photos, like or posts, like, if you could do, like, 2 posts a week, 1 reel a week, 2 reels a week, like, whatever you're able to do, find that rhythm and then either bust out the batching once a week or you batch all your reels for the month in one section, like however works best for you. I feel like just finding that system to make Instagram not so scary, make blogging not so scary, and all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like when it comes down to it, the more that you try these things that are scary for you, the less scary they're going to become. I know that sounds like very
Yeah.
obvious, but even like talking in front of the camera and like for me, like making this podcast, like that was a very scary thing for me, but you just don't know like what a scary thing is going to do for you. And I think like there's a reason that you're scared of it because you're
Yeah.
afraid, like there's a reason, but it's almost like a good scary, like obviously like
Yeah.
if some monster's knocking at your door, don't open it. That's real scary. But like business scary things, like for the most part, they're usually good things. Obviously like there's some business risk in other things, but
No,
yeah,
I feel like it's like an insecurity thing, and it's one of those things that like, okay, if you wanna start a podcast, just freaking do it. Like,
yeah,
don't wait a year because next year you can be like, "Oh my god, we started a podcast and now we have over 100 episodes." Or you can be like, "We still never started that podcast." Like, how sad,
right.
like, and you wanted to. So, like, just do it. Don't if you're worried about, like, the freaking haters out there, whoever you're insecure about, they don't give a shit. Like, just ignore them. Like, they're gonna go away at some point. It's great. Like, they don't matter. I should
Yeah.
tell myself this more often, honestly.
It's true. I feel like there's a million ideas that I have, and it's like I have the time now. Like, do the idea that you have, do it when you have time, because
Yeah,
you might not have time in the future, and you're gonna be like, I really wish I would have done that when I had time. Especially with busy season coming up like very, very, very soon. I'm sure there's a
very
lot of
sad.
people. Yes, I'm sure you're like realizing like, oh my gosh, like yeah,
I'm like,
it's like
"Okay,
crazy.
okay, yeah, it's fine."
Yeah, but
Got
like
me on
I'm
panic mode.
Yes, yeah. Same, honestly. There's probably a lot of people listening who are like thinking about doing something, whether it's, I don't know, trying out a new type of content or getting a
Mhm.
new lens or starting a podcast. And it's so much better to do it when you have time because you never know what things are going to pop up that are going to consume your time later.
I feel like also we're so like, I don't know if it's just like a creative person, small business owner, but we're always like, "There's not enough time. There's not enough time." There's freaking time. Just freaking do
Yeah.
it. Like, I swear there is. You just have to make it work if you really want it that bad, and it's just one of those things. Like, it's I don't know. I never thought I would have time to, like, go to the gym and run a business and take care of my kid and do this and blah, 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 and, like, I've been doing it for a year now, like, it you know what I mean? Like, it
Yeah.
works itself out, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of days where I'm like, "I did not get enough done today, or I did not see my son enough today," like, "I didn't go to the gym today because I was being lazy," whatever, but on the
Mhm.
days that you can do what you want to do, like, you just gotta go full throttle with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah, and that goes back to like the thing you were saying earlier about just like when you had your kid, you realized you had so much free time and like you were just kind of dilly dallying around and like
Yeah,
you really can get stuff done. You just have to like have another commitment in place before you realize that. Yeah,
100%. Like,
yeah.
don't start that new Netflix show because then you will get sucked in and you won't get anything done, like,
Literally me. Thank you right now. Like
not me watching Selling Sunset in 1 day last week.
oh my gosh. Okay, Selling Sunset and The Circle. I'm trying to watch both of those at once and it's like
They're so
yeah, this gets me.
good.
All right. Well, I do want to wrap up this episode with
Yes.
you giving like a little like just I just want to ask you, what is one thing that you wish you would have known when you first started photography? If you can just like leave us
When I
with
started
this like
photography or, like, my business?
business.
Okay, this is the most lame answer, and I'm so sorry, but it's like a very real answer. Honestly, I wish I would have known to start a retirement fund when I started my freaking business. Like,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know that's such a lame answer, but it's so real. And if like anytime we put to our retirement fund, it actually saves us money on taxes. And we don't make a retirement fund as a photographer, as a small
Yeah.
business, like as a self owned business. So you have to do that yourself. So go get your financial advisor, go start a retirement fund, even if it's literally $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
Freaking do it now. I promise you,
Okay.
it'll make such a difference in your future. And it saves you on taxes. So who doesn't want to literally save money on taxes and make their future better? So I know it's
Right.
so lame, but it's for
No,
real.
that's not lame at all. I've actually no one has ever said that to me before, and I'm over here like, okay. So with a retirement fund, is that literally just like a bank account, or is it like a Roth IRA or something?
It's like a Roth IRA thingy. I don't speak finances at all. I have a financial advisor who deals with that, and a CPA and a bookkeeper, all the things. But they told
Okay.
me I put in a certain amount a year. I'm now like an S corp, and so I hired my husband as an employee so I can put more into my retirement because he doesn't work now. So I want him to have a stacked retirement too. It's
Yeah.
just trying to be a smart business owner, and I really want a awesome retirement future. So I'm like,
Yeah.
if I'm making money now, I have to do it for then, you know?
Right. Okay. No, that is a great thing to leave everyone with because just leaves you thinking and it's like, okay, awesome, now I have to go do that. So tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow you, all of the things.
Okay, well, you can find me on my Instagram. It's Dawn, DAWN underscore photo. My website, all that stuff is linked in there. I have a ton of really awesome educational courses and guide templates if you need me, like pricing guides or any of that kind of stuff. Lots of fun, very affordable guides, courses, all the things. And I have some new, very exciting things coming out in June. So definitely go follow me because I'm very excited for this huge, huge launch. So it'll
Oh
be
my
great.
gosh. That's so exciting. Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. It was so great talking with you, meeting with you, and just picking your brain about all these topics. I really appreciate you coming on.
Expose my mind to clarity. Oh, my spirit shudders. Capture the moment, oh, to keep my sanity. The wisdom rushing in, so much clearer now. Getting a little bit higher. With every step I take, I'm getting good. Getting a little bit better. I'm climbing to the top. Never gonna stop. I'm getting good. Oh.